Hey everybody, welcome back. These bosses deserved the petty revenge they got. Dyed my hair blue so boss would stop blaming me for hair in customers' food. Oh, that is genius. Oh, that's so genius. Because the hair that will be in the food will obviously not be yours. Unless it's blue, obviously, but... I used to work for a sandwich shop. All the other employees were Indian women with very long black hair. Mine was sort of similar, I suppose. Medium length and brown. But every time a customer would complain about a long black hair in the food, my boss would immediately blame me without any hesitation or investigation, despite the fact that I was the only person who wore my hair up and netted. Sounds kind of like racist. So one day I dyed my hair blue with the sole purpose of not being blamed for black hair being in the food. You guessed it, it happened. And how huffy and annoyed my boss got when I said it couldn't be my hair because mine is blue was beyond amusing. Yes. I called my bright pink hair my food safety hair. Great way of getting around strict dress codes at work. Yeah, my hair isn't a natural shade, but we aren't allowed natural shade band-aids, are we, Mr. Boss Man? Yep, I got blamed for this. I had short brown hair. I worked with guys who had long hair, so I dyed mine red. Nope, chef, mine's red. This seems to be like not that uncommon. Boss didn't want to approve a short leave, so I instead availed a long one. I'm sorry, this became too long. It's okay, I'll forgive you. I work with a large organization having multiple branches in every state across the country. I'm the head of one such branch. My boss, the regional manager, controls around 15 such branches in a region cluster. During August this year, I asked my boss for a 5-day leave for September, which he had promptly granted. I then informed HR about it, suggesting him to temporarily arrange for somebody to run my branch for the week. This was required because one, due to some corporate directives, some of the branches, including mine, could not run without a branch head being physically present at the office. And two, enabling someone from inside the branch to substitute for me wasn't possible due to technicalities. HR assured me there would be plenty of time to arrange for my temporary substitute. So I didn't think much about it, since anyway, it was his job to take care of it in case of leaves. My dumb didn't imagine it would be crucial to get leave approved formally / in writing, because before this, nobody had ever faced something like what I was about to experience. Always get it in writing. And even then, even when it's in writing, people seem to not get it, you know? Like even when faced with screenshots upon screenshots, people still try to like tiptoe around the writing part. Come the last working day before I go on my leave, I asked our HR who would take care of my branch in my absence. He flatly stated there was no one available in the region cluster who he could depute to my branch in my stead, as many employees in our region are on leave because of festivities this week. Me, you're telling me this now? I fail to understand how that's my problem given that my leave was already granted a month ago. HR, have a discussion with the boss. I called him up. Apparently the HR had already had a talk with him regarding this matter before I even called him. Regional manager, how could you intend to go on a leave during this time when we are already under so much pressure due to the sudden staff shortage? On top of that, our company's audit is due next month. Looking for where the it's your problem, can't see it. But you already approved my leave 1 month ago. No, I'm sure I must have said I would think about it. Absolutely not. I wouldn't have booked my tickets and planned my travel to my hometown to see my parents if you hadn't confirmed the leave. This went to and fro for a while, and I was exasperated from this argument. By the end, I felt really humiliated that I had almost had to beg for a leave. Me, fine, I won't go. At that point, I had arguably felt my dignity was more important than a few days off work. Regional manager, huh? Okay. He was at a total loss of words at my sudden giving up. So, my leave stood canceled. My tickets had to be canceled. Money wasted, and I was left utterly exhausted of this BS. Oh, I feel like there's something brewing. There's something brewing here. I can smell it. I can smell petty revenge brewing. A few days later, we got a notification for the yearly interstate staff soccer tournament being arranged by corporate. If selected, I'd be playing for my state. And the tournament from selections till the final would go on for a month. Soccer happens to be one of my favorite sports. So guess who just applied and got selected in the state team? Now here's the funny thing about sports and activities that are arranged by our company's corporate center. The top management takes these seasonal events very seriously. If you are a participating employee, nothing or nobody on this planet could make you rather go back to sit on your chair and mind your job instead of participating. So, as it appeared, although not on a leave per se, I was all set to go on a month-long tour across the country, playing soccer without having to worry about managing a branch and getting paid in the process. Even irrespective of my leave fiasco, this was a good thing to get involved in. As some of you have expressed a curiosity, extravagant events like this are not unheard of in big Fortune 500 companies. My organization is a large conglomerate and the third largest employer in our country. Still, it always beats my logic that they can spare some 150 to 200 employees for a month for fun, yet there are some regions that are plagued with staff scarcity. I find it odd that they were willing to let you go and play soccer for the company and take a bunch of time off, but they weren't willing to get your shifts covered for the time that you needed to take off for a vacation. My boss's office was eventually informed about my participation in the event and was advised to excuse the participant from his duties until the tournament was over. The day before leaving, I drove down to the regional manager's office to formally inform him from my end about me competing in the event and ensuing my month-long absence that is to be expected. He looked expressionless and just feebly asked me, "Why did you really participate?" "Why do you think?" Me, well, you see, had I happened to be at my hometown on a short leave this week, I wouldn't have been able to participate in the tournament at all, or even try for the selections. Sad I couldn't go on that leave. The defeated look on his face was priceless. Sweet bonus, I forgot to add, one of the matches were hosted at my hometown. That was great. Excellent. It just goes to show that companies will always look out for their best interests, and they don't really care about giving you the time off, even though they could. You see, they can give him a month off to play soccer because it's in the best interest of the company, but they can't give him 5 days off to go and see his parents because it's not in their best interests. This happened to me once, and I requested, a Christmas vacation because people usually take Christmas off, but not in retail. No, you're kind of expected to work up until 9 p.m. on Christmas Eve and then again on Boxing Day. Some people even went in on Christmas to prepare for Boxing Day, and I literally just said that I just wasn't coming in. My boss said that it wasn't approved and that they needed me on Christmas, and that's why they hired me, and I said, well, I'm going to be in Mexico, so. I had to teach my boss that even though she is my boss, I am not her secretary. This is going to be fun. So fun. I have a good boss, but sometimes you have to teach them a thing or two, like how to respect your time and boundaries. My boss is becoming the B word from micromanaging hell. I know that all too well. That rhymed. Where I used to be able to do my job, I can no longer do it without constant interruptions of micromanagement. That's what I never understood about micromanagement. If you want me to be productive, constantly bothering me and pestering me and making me angry to the point where I'm so pissed off that I don't even want to work and I'm distracted because I'm having an issue with my boss, that does not encourage productivity. That just ensures that I'm going to be sitting on my computer fuming, collecting screenshots for the one day that I will eventually leave or maybe call the employment board. Boss has an office near mine. If I handle a business call, she listens and tries to control the call from his office. It is impossible for people to do more than one thing at a time. I cannot listen to two people at a time when one is on the phone. One conversation depends on verbal skills only, and the other is messed up trying to use verbal and nonverbal. The customer should be served, not the boss. I sort of have dealt with this pretty well and clever. When I'm on the phone with someone, an eavesdropping boss starts to try to control a simple phone call with no, don't do that, do blank, who's that, ask them, tell them. I become polite, cover the phone, and say to my boss, I have this handled. If boss persists with the micromanagement crap, I then have to cover the phone and say, Mr. Customer, can you please hold on a moment? It's too loud and busy here to understand your needs. If it's okay with you, I'm going to transfer you to my boss with a private office. Boss then says, no, can't you see I don't have time for that call? Clearly you do if you're sitting on the call micromanaging. I transfer the call at that moment and walk away. Boss handles the call, which they wanted to do in the first place. Next time boss interrupts me on a call, I cover the phone, say, can you hold on 1 second, and politely ask the boss, do you want this one? Look at boss and wait till their attention goes back to the desk when I then can handle the call. Now that I've broken that mind-numbing habit, boss has moved on to different interruptions to my workflow. He is clever, but I am more so. Can you copy files from XXXXX and scan them to me? Over and over I hear this. Now you do things for your boss, but when they run their own small business on company time, they tend to take you on as an unwilling partner, asking you to do things they don't have time for, but then you don't have time for your job. Most of our documents are PDF, and our company will not provide us the ability to edit stuff. So when I can't get my job done, I wait until boss wants a document scanned to them. I wait for a one-pager that I know they'll want to use electronically. I retrieve the file. 50% of the time the boss is in the office. I pull the page I want and I scan the thing. But the end of the document goes in the scanner first, so the document will go to the boss upside down and not usable by them. I then announce I'm going on break. Would you please return the document to the file? They get the file they can't use, and I'm not there for them asking me to rescan. Oopsie. Bonus revenge. Boss has to go to the scanner to rescan his document. Once he handles it, he is obligated by company culture to return it to the file, so I comply with his micromanagement demands, and he ends up doing what he should have done in the first place. Oh, yes, that's smart. Yes, that's smart. Or like, let's say you have a boss that wants to micromanage your time, all right? I had a boss that made me log my poo breaks. He wanted to know how long I was taking in the bathroom to poop. So rather than logging them, I just told them every time. And then I told them when I came back. And then I just asked permission to do absolutely everything so that they would be distracted. This is called managing up and is a basic office survival kit that only a few people seem to have. I love how we call it an office survival skill, implying that we need the skill in order to survive in a corporate environment. Otherwise, we will die. I have to pay to print personal stuff at work. So do you, boss. Many years ago, I worked for an organization providing frontline customer service. It was a decent place to work, but our manager had lots of rules. One of the rules was that we could not do any personal printing with the printers at work. If we did, we were expected to pay 50 cents per page for black and white printing and $1 per page of color. I'm not sure who made this rule, but the manager was constantly reminding us. So who would get the money is what I want to know. Our desks were not assigned, meaning any day you could be sitting at any desk depending on your assigned tasks for the day. One day I was interviewing for another job within the organization but at another location. Prior to the interview, the manager of the other location asked me if I'd mind printing a copy of my resume and bringing it with me as their printers were down for the day. I said no problem, so I figured I'd print it at work since it was work related. I was sitting at a desk that did not have a printer at it. The closest printer was located between my manager's desk and an employee's desk, so I printed it and stood up to go get it. Before I go to the printer, my manager got there first. Ugh. My print job went ahead of hers. When she saw what I had printed, she said, "OP, this looks like a personal print job." I explained it wasn't, but she disagreed and said it had nothing to do with day-to-day work. I had to pay $2 for 4 black and white pages. Oh, God. Oh, my God. I begrudgingly paid up. I asked her what happened to the money, and she said she always put it in the Christmas party fund. All right. This is what I don't get about this. Office supplies are a business expense. And a big company, like a company with multiple employees, that's not something you need to charge for. It's a legitimate business expense. A few weeks later, I was sitting at the desk with the printer at it. It was lunchtime and everyone except my manager agreed to go to a nearby restaurant for lunch. I walked out of our building and realized I forgot my wallet, so I ran back and got it. When I got to my desk, I could hear the printer going. I was curious what was being printed as it was spitting out page after page. I quickly glanced at the pile and saw at least 100 pages printed in color, announcing a sweet 16 for Trista, our manager's daughter. Interesting. Very interesting. It very obviously belonged to my manager. My manager came out of the bathroom a moment later and she seemed shocked to see me standing there. I picked up the pile and passed it to her and told her our Christmas party fund was going to be getting a big boost. She said nothing but looked really uncomfortable. A few weeks later, our district manager made his quarterly visit. He talked about the upcoming Christmas party and how excited he was for it. I decided it was time for some petty revenge. I raised my hand and said, I was just wondering how much we've accumulated this year for the Christmas party from print jobs. Oh, yeah, that's what I thought too. He looked so confused and asked me to explain what I meant, so I told him our manager's rule. He got really quiet and said he would have to review this. The next day, my manager sent an email saying the printing rule was something she was misinformed on and would be abolished immediately. Me, being the little shit disturber I am, hit reply all and asked what would happen to the already accumulated funds. Someone else said we should have a nice healthy fund for a pizza lunch and everyone agreed. The next day I hear my manager ordering 10 pizzas for lunch. Also used her own personal credit card to pay for it all. Right, because she's been keeping all the money for herself. Do I think she was pocketing the printing money all along? Absolutely. But it was fun making her sweat and then having her spend nearly $300 the next day to make up for it. A pizza party that was actually worth it, lol. Nurses everywhere rejoice at the concept. I honestly think that they should have paid you back. Cause like, realistically, do any of us really like office pizza parties? Like, I'd rather just have $30 if you don't mind. One time I had a boss that instead of giving us a Christmas bonus would like make us go to like a holiday party. And I was like, yeah, I already see you guys enough. I don't need to be spending Christmas with you too. But if it was a pizza party celebrating some petty revenge, give me a slice. Subscribe!